Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And at least in the top running for messed up childhoods. So, what better way to finish off March of the Clowns, April of the Fools, or by the time this gets to the copyright filter, May of whatever. We're going to review Joker. Released in 2019, Joker is a dark, R-rated comic book flick starring Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker in a sort of origin story, being a dark and disturbing tale about a mentally tormented individual embracing their inner demons and killing people. Well, it caught a share of controversy. Sort of. A lot of articles came out around the time this movie was being shown in previews saying, "Ooh, better not release it. It might cause some would-be Joker out there to do some bad things." And then it came out and nothing happened. And there was a whole bunch of articles coming out saying, well, yeah, nothing happened yet. And around the same time, there were actual events of people being stabbed to death over the Popeye's chicken sandwich, but nobody warned us about that. Anyway, the origin story of the Joker is retold. Sort of. It's a new take with a new direction, so this time around it has considerably less to do with a gangster being physically disfigured and more to do with society being completely messed up and the elites being woefully out of touch. Fortunately, it doesn't have anything to do with fast food or sports teams or the start of the Christmas shopping season, so we should be okay. Anyway, let's take a look at Joker and see just what it is that creates a supervillain. We open up to our lead, Phoenix, playing the role of Arthur Fleck, a clown in Gotham City in 1981. The dark tones, sad music, and general dreary mood give you an idea of what you're in for. Also, there's a tell-don't-show bit of exposition on the radio about the trash strike, and that there's mountains of crap piling all over the city, but all anyone can think to do is complain about it. Not like I have much room to talk, but anyway, while on the job spinning a sign for a store, Arthur is attacked by hooligans whom steal his sign and run off down an alley where he follows.
Come on! Beat his ass up. Come on, this guy's weak. Can't do nothing. Harder! Beat him up.
Beat this guy up. I very much enjoy assaulting clowns. So that's our introduction to this setting. Moving on, we see Arthur is actually suffering from non-specific mental illnesses, as he has weekly meetings with our state-provided social worker, played by Sharon Washington. Therefore, he's in good hands. Or generic hands that ask him to do all the basic things you're expected to, like keeping a journal.
I've been using it as a journal, but also as a joke diary.
In fact, same thing, really. Have you seen my Twitter? The diary contains such gems as, "I just hope my death makes more sense than my life." Get it? Sense? Because our artist hit it big post-mortem. Wrong crowd. Well, Arthur muses that maybe he was happier back when he was locked up in Arkham doing cranial percussion exercises. Maybe it's not so bad. He can get the doctors to give him some more medication or something.
Arthur, you're on 7 different medications. Surely they must be doing something.
I can't get it up. My piss is glow in the dark, and I keep smelling water everywhere. But I can't say it's doing much for my crippling anxiety. So he's doing drugs, but he's going to have to keep doing the same drugs he's already on, even though he clearly still has issues, as we see when he goes into a laughing fit and gives a handy-dandy laminated card to explain that it's just one of his conditions. Happens from time to time. Problem with his brain, don't worry about it. Oh well, time to take a long walk home. Fun fact, after the massive success of this movie, those stairs became sort of a tourist attraction on their own. Not from this scene, from a later scene, a happier scene. Returning home to his crappy apartment, we see that Arthur lives with his mother, Penny, played by Frances Conroy, who you might recognize as Ophelia from Catwoman. She's been sending letters to Thomas Wayne for like decades, because way back when she worked for him, and keeps telling Arthur, you know, he's a good guy. He'll surely keep us out of our bad spot, even though he's currently preoccupied with his political campaign.
He'll make a great mayor. Everybody says so.
Oh, yeah? Everybody who? Who do you talk to?
Everybody on the news.
Well, not everybody on the news. They have to have that one guy from the other side of the aisle to come out and make some shitty arguments so they can laugh at his face and scurry him off so they can continue talking about how awesome Thomas Wayne is. No time to get into a wonderfully friendly and never divisive political argument, though. It's time for their favorite TV show, Live with Murray Franklin, starring, of course, Murray Franklin, played by Robert De Niro. We don't so much watch the show, though, as watch what's going on inside Arthur's head as he daydreams what might it be like if he would ever find himself in that live studio audience. Naturally, Murray would pick him out of the crowd right quick.
My name's Arthur.
Oh, okay. Well, there's something special about you, Arthur, I could tell.
Murray would know. Murray would know I'm not just some stupid normie. I'm special. Just like they always told me in school. And Murray would be so moved by how wonderful of a man Arthur is, taking care of his mother and all, he would bring him right down onto the stage and tell him how he, the one and only Murray Franklin, would give up all the fame and fortune in the world to have a son as wonderful as Arthur. Ha! Just sitting there thinking about how wonderful it would be if he had a loving father figure. That's funny. Oh, well, on to work the next day so we can watch Arthur getting dressed and appreciate just how scrawny Phoenix managed to get for this role. Soon, though, he is interrupted by fellow clown and coworker Randall, played by Glenn Fletchler. He heard about how Arthur got jumped by some kids, so he gives the guy a little something that might help.
You gotta protect yourself out there.
They go low, we go for the vital organs. Of course, Arthur's not supposed to be packing, but Randall tells him don't sweat it, just don't tell anyone. Besides, no one will notice. They're too distracted by picking on Gary, played by Leigh Gill.
Do you people call it miniature golf, or is it just golf to you?
I don't know, Randall. You find cocktail weenies intimidating? It's not all laughs at the clown biz, though, as Arthur is called into the office to get a stern talking to by his boss, Hoyt, played by Josh Pace. He got a call that Arthur left his job in the middle of the shift. Arthur says, yeah, he got his ass kicked by a bunch of kids, but Hoyt isn't buying that story. Also, he better return that sign that was broken across his face or else it's coming out of his paycheck.
Just give him his sign back. He's going out of business, for God's sake, Arthur.
Why would I keep his sign?
How the fuck do I know? Why doesn't anybody do anything?
Maybe you got a thing for signs. Maybe you're trying to start a black market selling secondhand signs. Maybe the plot says so. I don't know. So despite Arthur clearly being the victim here, he's the one being punished. Pardon me while I hold my shock. While Arthur keeps silent in the office, it's more than a little obvious he's quite upset about this turn of events. Either way, returning to the apartments to see, yet again, no mail from Mr. Wayne, he heads to the elevator. But what's this? A random lady needs to take the elevator too! Sophie, played by Zazie Beetz. Turns out she fucking hates living here too.
It's so awful, Mom. Right, Mommy?
Ah, finally, someone who speaks my language. It's even enough to get Arthur to open up for a second, mock blowing his own brains out. That's nice. Almost as nice as how he spends the next day, just, stalking her. Well, at least he's got a hobby now. Other than that comedy scene, of course, where he is still trying to work on his material. Heading to the comedy club, he takes notes as to what people seem to find funny, though his own little jokes on the diary tend to lean in a much different direction. The worst part about having a mental illness is that people expect you to behave as if you don't. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe you could go into a little more detail there. I mean, I personally think the fact that if you're dealing with someone who even thinks that they're cooperating, and you tell them exactly why it is you have a few little quirks, they still for some reason seem to think that it's easier for you to just not act like that anymore than for them to just understand it. However, while lost in thought, suddenly Sophie appears at the door. She noticed Arthur following her, but thinks it's cute. Well, he's going for it.
I do stand-up comedy. You should maybe come see a show sometime.
I could do that.
All right, don't forget to plug your SoundCloud. No time to hang out just now, though. Arthur's gotta work tomorrow, being the happy clown for a children's hospital.
If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray.
Ooh, could get in trouble for that one. Quick, make sure there are no witnesses. Arthur asks them to, be quiet about that, but the hospital calls his boss and complains about the gun. The explanation he gives that it's just a prop, bro, doesn't fly, and he is fired. So while we're in a low spot, may as well get on the subway to go home. That way we can get that scene you get in pretty much anything anymore when you have one lady on the subway and a group of young men. Wouldn't you know it, they just so happen to be the most reprehensible pieces of shit you can imagine.
Don't ignore him. He's being nice to you.
Okay, still waiting for them to tell her to smile, say that she's been leading them on, and possibly just start throwing hands so that the old guy down on the other side of the car can give a little chuckle and say, boys will be boys. However, Arthur starts laughing uncontrollably, so no longer important to the scene, the woman just gets up and leaves, while the devious miscreants set their sights on the clown. Not giving him a chance to pull out his get out of awkward confusion free card, they commence with Gotham's favorite pastime and begin beating the crap out of the poor bastard. Until... Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But Arthur is going for 100% completion on this killing spree, following the last of them out of the train and gunning them down in that conveniently empty Gotham subway. Well, nothing much left to do but flee the scene of the crime, running as fast as he can. Arthur eventually finds solace in a public bathroom. Thing is, once the dust settles, the emotional toll is not quite what one would expect. Nice, artistic, gets the job done, but you could have just as easily gone with this.
Wow! I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't.
Arthur is so euphoric after the killing, he goes straight to Sophie's place and BAM! Makeout time. May as well get the good stuff out of the way soon, I suppose, because the next day he's got to clean out his locker at Clowns R Us, and then dealing with hearing the news about the murders on TV. Seems those 3 dickbags he offed were actually Wayne Enterprises employees, and Thomas fucking Wayne himself is there to talk about how much of a tragedy this all is.
Like all Wayne employees, past and present. They're family.
You hear that? I told you we're family.
Yeah, remember the exposition, Mom. Now hush, these are important plot points. It seems that some of the poorer people in Gotham are siding with the killer of all things, an unknown deranged psychopath who allegedly wore a clown mask. Sure to please the masses, Thomas Wayne, played by Brett Cullen, says, yeah, he was dressed like a clown because the poor think that's how we better, more affluent people see them, as clowns. And yeah, fuck the guy and fuck the poor, they're all clowns!
Thomas Wayne, thank you for coming in this morning.
It's not funny.
Well, I mean, it kinda is. It's about as out of touch as, I don't know, a mansion quarantine celebrity going on about how hard it is to people who have had their non-essential businesses shut down and are now facing months and months of bills they cannot possibly afford and are on the fast track of homelessness and no one gives a fuck about. Speaking of omnipresent apathy to plight, it's time for Arthur's appointment with his social worker. But while he's trying to talk about recent goings-on, she's considerably aloof. He points out that she never really listens, always asking the same questions, but never really caring what his answers are. And, well, yeah, what do you expect? She's a social worker. Or was, anyway.
They've cut our funding. We're closing down our offices next week.
So now Arthur's... well, he's going to get about the same amount of therapy he always did.
How am I supposed to get my medication now? Who do I talk to?
Well, for your sake, I hope they were placebos. So yeah, things just keep going from bad to worse, but don't worry, Arthur's finally getting that chance at stand-up comedy as he takes the stage at the local club and prepares to set the world on fire. Nice opening, but you're too tense there, Arthur. You just gotta let yourself go, like... Laugh so you don't cry, you know? Eventually, after choking out enough giggles and guffaws, Arthur does continue his stand-up, but we don't really stick around to see what it looks like. The music takes over and we see Sophie in the crowd, loving every bit. It's like she just loves everything this man does.
Fuck him. I think the guy that did it is a hero.
I mean, there's next to no information about the victims other than them being upper class, but fuck it, let's just go with the default that anyone who is well off deserves to die horrifically. He doesn't tell her about his antics, though, just enjoys the rest of their little date before heading home to Mommy. Seems she hasn't finished her daily activities yet, such as mailing that letter to Mr. Wayne that she's been doing for the last few decades, but no bother. Arthur's in a good mood, so he'll get her in bed and mail it out himself. Which, of course, means he gets the opportunity to read the contents of one of those letters she's been sending out all this time. Thanks for underlying the important plot-relevant sentences, Mom. With this shocking revelation, Arthur confronts his mother, whom promptly locks herself in the bathroom, saying these stress levels are going to kill her. Eventually, he does get her to say that, yeah, she and Tommy had this little fling way back when, and Arthur's the result of that. But Mr. Wayne had an image to uphold, no one could know, signed some papers, and that's why they've been living in shithole poverty for 30 years. Well then, Arthur's got an idea. Why not just head up to Wayne Manor and introduce himself? First encountering little Bruce, of course, played by Dante Piera Olsen, and making a great first impression by doing a bunch of little magic tricks for the boy. Of course, this is Bruce Wayne we're talking about, so he doesn't smile until Arthur jams his fingers into the corners of the kid's mouth, which gets the attention of a chipper young Alfred, played by Douglas Hodge. Thing is, this is where things take a shocking turn for Arthur.
Your mother was delusional. She was a sick woman.
Don't say that.
It's not true at all. You should be using present tense. I better show him you're clearly the level-headed one here by choking the man through the gate. Or not. Might not be the best course of action. Just return home to Mommy, who is currently being wheeled away by an ambulance. This tragic turn of events is because she was so stressed out she suffered a stroke, specifically after being grilled by detectives.
Did you do this?
What? No.
No. We just asked her some questions, and she got hysterical.
Ah, gotcha. You were the direct cause of her extreme distress, but, fuck it, she's the one that went and had that stroke. The officers came here to ask questions about that subway killer guy, and she sort of fell and hit her head. Whoopsie. Well, Arthur's not telling them squat. He's got his mother to worry about. Sure, things are looking bleak, but it's not all bad. Sophie's here with him, and when she goes to get some coffee, it's time for their favorite show, Live with Murray Franklin. Not only that, but they got that tape from the comedy club Arthur performed at. Now the whole city will know who he is, despite how they all thought he'd never make it as a comedian.
Everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
You can say that again, pal.
But what's this? Murray doesn't think he's a special stand-up guy with a heart of gold. He thinks he's a fuck nugget. A plain, ordinary, meaningless fuck nugget. Well, I guess that's kind of special. So the fantasy father he never had is no more than the average everyday asshole. Who would have guessed? In other news, it seems that little triple homicide and Wayne's completely tone-deaf response has sparked a movement in the downtrodden residents of Gotham. They call them clowns, so they're taking on the visage of clowns and fighting back against those who call them clowns.
What's the point of all this?
The rich! Thomas Wayne! That's what this whole thing is about! The whole system!
Just your average class warfare. The kind that involves a body count, anyway. But this news lets Arthur know just where Thomas Wayne is going to be. Thus, sneaking past the surprisingly lax police presence at the protest, he easily slips in, swipes a bellhop uniform, and keeps tabs on Wayne until he has him nice and alone. This gives him a chance to approach him and tell him that he is his son, Wayne and Penny's love child, Arthur! To which Wayne responds that he's not their love child, Penny's insane, and Arthur was adopted. It's all in black and white. They have the records at Arkham, after all. Naturally, Arthur doesn't just accept this at face value.
Dad, it's me!
Ooh, catching up on all that paternal love he missed. So his dream dad's a dick and Mr. Wayne says his mom's a loon, but that just means it's about time for his luck to turn around. While deep in a crippling depression, who would just so happen to call him up but the talent scout of the Murray Franklin Show? The audience just loved that clip of Arthur's stand-up, and they want to know if he's interested in coming on as a special guest.
Murray wants me on the Murray Franklin Show?
Yeah, isn't that great?
Okay, real talk, how much am I getting paid? Because I'm not doing shit else for exposure. So add that to Arthur's schedule, but first, Thomas said that Penny was institutionalized at Arkham, therefore, that's where Arthur is going to find out the truth. The clerk, Carl, played by Brian Tyree Henry, does indeed find a file for Penny Fleck. Thing is, psychiatric records are a very personal matter, so, sorry Artie, Penny's gonna have to show up herself if you want to see what's in here.
No, man! Come on, man!
Oh, come on, this is Arkham Asylum. You know they don't put that much thought into security over here. Securing a secluded spot in a stairwell, he flips open the records and finds it's all there. His adoption papers with no known parents and plenty of records about the absolute terror he faced at the hands of Penny's abusive boyfriend.
Malnourished with multiple bruises across his body and severe trauma to his head.
And? Don't get me wrong, that's a bad childhood to have. I should know, I mean, malnourishment, that's a real kicker there. Did you know that if it goes on for a long time in a child's life, like, say, 8 years or so, and they don't get certain vitamins like vitamin D, that could have long-lasting effects on their health, like well into adulthood. It could cause the teeth to not grow strong enough, and they could just deteriorate and break apart and just be a complete fucking medical nightmare for the rest of their lives. Did you know that? So yeah, Arthur not only doesn't have a daddy, he doesn't really have a mommy either. Completely distraught, he goes to the only place he can turn, Sophie's. Only problem is she is extremely shocked to see him in here. She only kinda knows his name and begs him to leave. That's because... she never was his girlfriend. It was all in his head, as we clearly see right here, plain as day, very obvious. You have to be a complete fucking idiot not to be able to notice this. Did I mention I got some new glasses this year? Well, I guess they didn't show all the scenes they were together. That part where Arthur came back from the murders and boned her isn't explained, but I'll go ahead and assume he went right home and fapped vigorously. Ah well, on to more important matters, like going to the hospital to see his mother. Or rather, that crazy bitch who tried to use him for personal gain and left him to be horrifically abused all his childhood.
I used to think that my life was a tragedy. But now I realize it's a fucking comedy.
Dark comedy's still a comedy. Now, you might think that someone would notice this, but that would probably get in the way of Act 3, so Arthur murders Penny, and that's that. We've got more important things to do, like get ready for Arthur's big appearance on the Murray Franklin Show. He's going all out, dyeing his hair and painting his face. However, this is interrupted when some former co-workers arrive, Randall and Gary. Seems in the hunt for the killer clown, Gotham police, masterful detectives that they are, just decided that maybe check in on the clowns and ask some questions.
They didn't talk to me.
That's because the suspect was a regular-sized person. If it was a fucking midget, you'd be in jail right now.
And Thomas Wayne would have given an even more awkward speech about how the rich and affluent look down on the poor as being really, really short. Therefore, Randall wants to check in with Arthur and make sure everyone's got their story straight. So Arthur stabs him in the neck, then stabs him in the face, and bashes his head into the wall over and over again until he is dead. Then, of course, chatted up a bit with Gary.
Did you watch the Murray Franklin Show? Yeah. I'm gonna be on tonight.
Yeah. Hope Randall didn't have anything scheduled. Don't worry about Gary, though. Arthur has no intention of killing him. After all, Randall gave him the gun that got him fired and threw him under the bus the first chance he had. Gary, on the other hand?
You were the only one that was ever nice to me. Yeah.
Just remember to keep the story straight, Gary. I killed those 3 assholes on the subway, then I murdered Randall in front of you, and now I'm going to be on the Murray Franklin Show. Okay, run along now. Now all jokered up, Arthur is in his element, taking to the stairs for a euphoric dance routine, which is unfortunately interrupted by 2 detectives from earlier, so he must run into traffic. And no bother, just slip on down to the subway where quite the gathering of clown-faced protesters just so happen to be. Got another little protest going on tonight, but the important thing is that Arthur can instigate a little scuffle, resulting in one of the protesters being shot by police, meaning the rest of them gang up on the cops, beating the crap out of them, and allowing Arthur to slip away and make it to the Murray Franklin Show without much difficulty. He's not sure why the guy's all painted up, but Arthur says it's got nothing to do with the protests. Don't worry. But I do have a small request.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker?
What's wrong with your real name?
Arthur Fleck? Sounds like I'm clearing mucus out of my throat. It's because Murray called him this Joker when he showed the tape, so hell, better than the human spider. Joker it is. Eventually, his time is called, and Joker dances onto the stage, finally, in his true element, and sits down to have that late show interview with Murray Franklin.
When we spoke earlier, you mentioned that this look is not a political statement. Is that right?
That's right, Murray. I'm not political.
I mean, yeah, you just bring up politics and suddenly everyone's at each other's throats. Don't they realize you could just drop that? You could all come together and then fight to the death over inane shit anyway. But he's a comedian. He's here to make people laugh. However, his masterfully crafted humor about kids being mowed down by drunk drivers doesn't really land with this audience. I can't blame him. Kinda stressed out.
Ever since I killed those 3 Wall Street guys.
And your mother. Oh, foster mother. And Randall. And Sophie, maybe? I don't know. We didn't really see anything, but there were police sirens in the next scene, so...
Okay, I'm waiting for the punchline.
Oh, sorry. And the body count is itemized. Funny thing, though, this is the scene where Joker is the Joker, the first time he's fully the Joker. But if you ask me, he doesn't really sound like the Joker.
Well, let me get this straight. You think that killing those guys is funny?
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
Kinda sounds more like Jeffree Star. Now's the time for Joker to get on his little soapbox. Personally, I'd expect any TV show would have cut the feed by now, but fuck it, ratings are ratings, I guess. Joker explains he's about as interested in starting political movements as he is bowel movements. He killed those guys because they were assholes. And what makes them so special? If they had killed him down there, no one give a fuck, so riddle me this. I mean, hey, here's another joke.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash?
Ooh, I know this one. Depression.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Ooh. I guess Murray Franklin ain't live no more. That shot is broadcast absolutely everywhere, and of course inspires the clown protesters to move on to good old-fashioned rioting, burning and looting all of Gotham, and also being instrumental in one more thing.
Hey, Wayne! You get what you fucking deserve.
No, pal!
Tearing Bruce Wayne's parents away from him, ensuring that he will grow up to become the Batman, and beat the crap out of youth protesters everywhere before breaking into the old folks' home to kick the Joker's wrinkly 70-year-old ass. But what about the Joker? Well, he got arrested after the show, but the rioters broke him out of the patrol car, as he is the symbol of their rioting. And the next scene shows he's back in custody, in Arkham, being asked those same questions that they never really listened to the answers to. But then he's strutting off with bloody footprints. And then the orderlies are chasing him again. Oh well, the end. So that was an ending, I guess. And that was a story, I guess. Anyway, that was Joker, I guess. Joker's an interesting one. It's got a beginning, middle, and end, but it doesn't really have the standard cookie-cutter stories you tend to find in movies. It almost comes off more like a slice-of-life kind of presentation, centering on a point in Arthur's life where a lot of shit went down and things changed drastically, but not so much a tale of how did any one thing happen. Taken as a tale of how the Joker became the Joker, for instance, it really isn't that, because the best you can take away from it was that he was the Joker all along, but I'm already complaining too much about a movie that I did honestly enjoy, but mostly for the presentation. This is a beautifully shot, edited, acted, and paced film. The soundtrack augments the scenes wonderfully, and things do logically lead into each other well enough. Which is perhaps why I find the movie a bit disappointing. For all the high praise I can lay on the showmanship, the story is surprisingly shallow. It dabbles on things like mental illness, but not all that much. Part of that is by design. You weren't supposed to be able to pinpoint any specific diagnosis for Arthur Fleck, but the side effect is that when so much of the story revolves around his twisted view of the world and diminishing mental state, the dark thoughts in his diary end up coming off more like, I'm 14 and this is deep. Oh, maybe that's got a bit more to do with the fact that I have had my own demons to fight throughout my life. So this movie comes along and says, hey, you know, overworked social workers? Well, they aren't really all that helpful. I'm just here like, yeah? Oh, the worst part about having a mental illness is society expects you to act as if you don't. Yeah? Oh, he had a really bad childhood that contributed to his mental trauma. Yeah? All these things are very surface-level concepts to me, and we never really dig much deeper throughout all 2 hours of this movie. At the end of the day, Joker is an admirable work, and while most of what I like about it can be categorized as superficial, it is executed with so much artistic skill on all levels that that word hardly sounds appropriate. However, the relatively shallow ideas put forth in the plot hold it back quite a lot from what it could have been, coming in at 4 bashed-in brains out of 5. I see it kind of like a 3 out of 5 story wrapped in a 5 out of 5 presentation. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, tragic events don't dictate your life. Plenty of people who have suffered through so much turn out to be great people, and there are so many people out there who have received so much love in their life who turn out to be assholes. And throwing on clown makeup and going on a killing spree doesn't solve anything. Or does it? Hello?
Decker, aren't you forgetting something?
Oh, right, the gun.
No, we were supposed to do a crossover.
When?
April!
Oh, right, the thing. Slipped my mind. I've had a lot going on.
Well, get on Hangout so we can work on the script. I am not writing the whole thing for you. Again.
Okay. Okay.
Oh no! I forgot to punch out.